I think that the Proving Grounds decks are about where Blevin's Cold Opens are.
Yeah, they're like almost there, but not quite.
So coming soon, but not quite here yet.
Just barely over the bar.
The thing that you're waiting for me to do is say, "Welcome to the winning point." We are here. I don't know what we've started or finished, but we are here. We're going to be talking about Riftbound here on the show. I'm Blevins. That's Casanova. That is Charmer, and that is Pastry.
Ayo.
What is up, my friends? We had a interesting little week here. I know two of us went to an event.
Yeah.
The other two of us did not go to
So
an event.
Charmer and I went to Gen Con. It was a good time. We did hang out. We did not hold hands. I think those were the two questions that we had going in, and coming out of it, we did hang out.
I watched that episode.
Did not hold hands. And that's really the main story of Gen Con. I mean, we can talk more about it, but really those were the important things that people wanted to know about.
Yeah. Oh, that, and we should have content coming from that event soon. So stay tuned to the channel, obviously, because we got to play each other. We got to play some devs. We covered multiple formats. It'll be a good time.
If you subscribe to the channel, you can see when that video comes out. You should do it right now.
Hey.
That's what I was going to go for too. But I guess, Charmer, you and I can take control of this section for a second because we were the ones at Gen Con. So really, you mentioned the videos. I actually I can even spoil what they are, but not the content of it. Charmer and I were able to play a 2v2 versus Dave Guskin, which is the game director for Riftbound, and Mel, or Swim Bananas, who's the community lead as of right now for really a lot of Riot stuff in general. But she's been kind of taking the charge on a lot of the Riftbound things. And in that video, we kind of get to go over what's different with 2v2 versus just like standard 4-player. And it'll be pretty educational if you want to play that format. I found that format extremely fun, and I pitched to Dave the idea of full box sealed 2v2, and I think that will be an insanely fun format to play with your friends if you buy some boxes. I think it'll actually be sick. The other video was like we did a bunch of 1v1s against other content creators and Dave himself, and a King of the Hill style thing. And that was really fun. I'm not going to spoil like results of anything, but it should be a really nice video, and you should expect them to come out of the channel soon enough. We're just waiting for the footage to get sent over. Other than that, though, Charmer, that Riftbound booth was crazy constantly. I mean, it was just full the entire time. I know you were over there a bit. I know you and your son got to play. So what else did you see while you were out in that area?
So I had already, before I knew that we were going to have the content opportunities, signed up for a Learn to Play, just the 1v1, because I knew that I wanted to teach my son how to play. We did get sample decks out of it as well. We both got 2 each, so we actually have the full set so we can play here at home, which is a lot of fun. But the thing that stood out to me was just how busy the booth was. There were scheduled Learn to Play events that they were free, but you had to sign up ahead of time, and those were basically sold out the entire time. Again, not really sold, but reserved, whatever. And then there was a line of people that were just hanging out in case somebody didn't show up. So there was just like this constant plethora of folks standing around wanting to play the game, watching the games that were in the feature area. So the neat thing that Riot did, and this is how Cass and I were able to record some of that content, is they also had like a feature table. Throughout the weekend, they had a number of content creators that were participating there, as well as the game devs themselves. And then they also, even though that was being recorded because they had the camera set up, there was like a live feed to TVs that were kind of around the booth as well, so that as people were hanging out, they could watch the games. People were mic'd up so they could also hear some of the decisions being made, that sort of thing. It was really a cool setup if you're just trying to demo the game. The only other thing that I guess jumps out worth mentioning is Thursday night, they also did a mixer thing for content creators. So we were able to meet some of the people that were playing that weekend ahead of time, jam some games. For example, Cass and I also played a game with Main Deck Dan and Cosmic. We did the 4-player free-for-all, which was a lot of fun. There was a lot of tension at the end. I'm sad to say that I did not win, but was very happy that Cass won on Garen of all of the decks. So it was a wild time, but it was also just really refreshing to kind of talk to other creators across the spectrum, specifically people coming from Magic or from Riot Games, or even there were some cosplayers there. It's just really cool that even though the game isn't out yet, there's already kind of this burgeoning community.
Yeah, I gotta note the Proving Grounds. I did nothing the whole game. Was just this deck was not. No, I was just trying to stack units to draw some cards. So I'd like get a cap, draw 2 cards, and then get like board wiped, and then just have to rebuild. And then finally we get to the like end state where everyone's at 7 points and just trying to get the last thing. And I top deck Confront. And Confront lets me like play that and then play units ready and just take each and every location because they'd all been board wiped. It's just very, very silly way to win the game. And then, to Charmer's point with meeting all these people, it was so amazing. I'm hoping that we can do some collaborations with some of these really cool content creators from other spaces that we're not originally from. Some of these Magic the Gathering creators. I know, of course, Pastry makes Magic the Gathering content, but also someone like me, I haven't worked with any of these people before, and I think it would be cool for us to get together and do some Riftbound things. So stay tuned. Hopefully there will be a lot of that in the future. I think other than that, what we got for playing at Gen Con was the Ari promo alongside 2 of the starter decks. I believe the Ari promo will be at all live events for the rest of the year. I believe that's what I heard. So it should be at PAX. It should be, there's probably a couple other places where you can find that Ari promo. It won't just be Gen Con. And then
English releases,
yes,
English events at least. Exactly,
English events. And then other than that, I just throughout the weekend I got to jam a bunch of games with Anu, who he'll be casting the Riftbound Labs thing with Blevins for the top 8 coming soon. And he was a really cool Magic creator that I just got to meet there, and we ended up playing a bunch of Riftbound together in paper with proxies, which was really, really fun. Big takeaway is play clean, because when you play with tokens, the playmats get full very quickly in Riftbound.
Oh,
so
actually, that's one other thing worth mentioning that was kind of a cool byproduct we didn't expect. Because of our King of the Hill format, Cass and I got these kind of like one-of-one things that were made by Dave, and then he signed them because Cass was playing against Dave and he needed a buff token and there were none on the table. So he took what was essentially a Riftbound backed card that had a white front, and he made a buff token and then signed it. And then I ended up I ended up with one that is a Nocturne because I was playing Teemo. So that was also just kind of a neat takeaway from the event. I was very excited that he was doing that for folks.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's really it for Gen Con, unless you got more, Charmer. I know we both had good weekends, got to do a lot of cool stuff, but as for Riftbound, there's some things that, getting to talk to the devs we heard, but probably can't share here, but just very exciting things about Riftbound.
Or
definitely, basically,
or maybe share one.
Maybe share here. I'll share some. I'll share not an exact thing, but Dave was talking about sets that he'd like to release and just like themes of sets. None of these are like, oh, they were created, but just themes of sets. And he was hearing, content creators say ideas, and he was like, yeah, that would be good. That would be good. So there's a lot of League of Legends themed stuff that has happened and events that could potentially become sets later. Let's just say that, because I don't want Dave to get mad at me and get me in trouble.
I was going to say, I will say this was not confirmed nor denied. So I feel safe saying this, but I said in front of Dave several times throughout the weekend, like, yeah, this will be really good when we get the Poro King, right? Like, that was my thing all weekend long. So
the bit continues.
The bit continues. Poro King has to be every color again, though, of course. All right. Anyways, let's move it along, Blev. Our next topic. This one I know is more near and dear to your heart, and I know you're always really excited about talking about this kind of stuff on the channel. It is the collection article, but specifically at Gen Con, we got to see the overnumbered cards. Charmer and I held them in our hands.
Unsleeved.
Unsleeved, handed
the
to us.
savages handed them
like
over.
Monsters.
I had just finished like a big greasy burrito. I wiped my hands on my pants and then I grabbed the overnight. But here they are. And Blev, I mean, what's your initial takes on these buttes?
Yeah, initial takes are a couple of things. One, they look awesome. The treatments on them, from like just seeing the pictures online of the art, was awesome. Like we've seen the Volley Bear and the Yasuo basically since the beginning, so we knew what the art looked like, and like, oh, that's really cool. It's full art. Like, that's sort of a gold standard for alt arts for many card games now. Like, awesome. Love seeing these big portrait style arts. Seeing the actual like pictures of the physical cards and like the foiling and all that, like, it's primo. I'm really, really digging what it's looking like. I also love this is divisive, at least in the Magic community. Many people love Magic cards to look like Magic cards, and I'm one of the people that wants to play the most weird looking cards. Like, every secret lair that's like, this just doesn't even look remotely like a Magic card. Like, this is a movie poster, this is a VHS cover, this is some other weird thing. I want those cards in my deck, and these don't quite get there, but they are definitely like, the art direction at least is not just, oh, these are the lore splash arts or the league splash arts, rather the old lore art. This is like, I believe all of these at least seem like they were made specifically and commissioned specifically for Riftbound. And they are not uniform in art direction, I think
it's just
is really
someone's art style and then their signature on it. I think it's so cool.
Yeah, I was definitely struck by how different they all look, but I think it's cool that they decided to get a bunch of different art styles and move them in there. I also will say that, like, looking at these, obviously we've seen Yas for a long time, and I'm a big Yas apologist, but I hate to say it, I think I might be a purple player, because every time I look at these purple cards, they seem good, and I really, really hope MF is good, because that might be my favorite of these 12 signature cards.
I gotta say, the Jinx is cool, but this monstrosity / beauty white bordered original Chinese one, it's gotta be it's gotta be used.
Just the
it's
old League of Legends Jinx splash art.
In white border, like, it's
pretty sure
so
that's not legal.
I need to do it.
I'm just pretty confident that's not a legal card. It is?
It's definitely legal.
That's crazy.
How could it not be legal? You're not shuffling the
it's a sample card, no? It's not a real card.
No, those ones didn't have sample on them, if I remember correctly.
Holy smokes!
No, these are the ones from the TFT Macau event, so they're not sample. They were like promo.
Interesting.
Yeah, so I mean, also, like, it's not like it's being shuffled into your deck anyway, but I'll do.
I would allow it. Let's say
Flesh and Blood, and like have the real copy, like, underneath in case someone tries to rules lawyer it. But this bad girl is getting slapped on.
You have the signature underneath it, like the most bling version possible. Like, you just cover it up,
sleeve, just like just pull it out of my pocket, like, oh yeah, I got this.
Like the wallet phantasmal footsteps.
Everyone's I have a video is just like unplayable in tournaments. There's a cracked bauble with Sharpie on it from the judge.
But for real though, I had to foil out my wizard deck for an RTN because I had an Eye of Ophidia in it, and it was like very clearly bent. Or not bent, but like curled. So like I had to get as much of the deck foil as possible.
You could just
reasonably play the cards.
Proxy.
Just get
it's
proxy,
fine.
Lev. No, you wanted to play with
doing?
the eye, didn't you?
Or
shinies.
Yeah.
Or shinies.
Right. Well,
or shinies.
I interrupted Charmer.
Charmer, go first.
Yeah, I wanted to cover something that I was trying to get to translate. Because I posted some video of the overnumbered cards when we did get to hold them on Twitter. Seems like a lot of people were really excited about that. The thing that even still I don't think comes through very well in that video is that it is a multi-layered process, right? It's not just like, oh, these are foil. Oh, it's, full art. There's like an embossed effect on these that the images just, I don't think, do enough justice. And also, especially when you're looking at the digital versions of the art, it doesn't really come through the contrast or the pop, right? So like one of the ones that I really like when you're viewing it in person is the Leona one. And I know there's a lot of folks that were kind of unhappy because it looks very, monochrome, but it really pops when you see it in person because of the contrast and the way that, again, there's like a texture to the foiling. The Ari and the Lee Sin, but with that kind of gold part as well, it really gives it like this fluidity and motion. And it's just one of those things where it's really hard to put into words. Even when you see the video or the pictures, it just looks awesome. But I also, I saw a lot of complaints about like, oh, I don't like the art style or whatever. I kind of love that they just let the artists do something different. I saw a lot of people complain about Jinx, for example. I think that the Tank Girl vibe works for her, and I like it. I saw some people say Teemo's too cartoony, and I think that's his personality anyway, so it fits. Like I think that this is really neat.
Yeah. But no, I agree with you wholeheartedly, Charmer. I love the different art styles. I love that they all get to be different. This is actually, I'm a big anti-bling person. I sell all my bling. I might keep an overnumbered card if I pull it for a character that I want to play, because I really like these. And, a lot of League characters are close to my heart. But I want to get a little bit more into the nitty gritty. For the pull rates, I think people are probably interested in that. If you haven't read the collection article, 1 in 3 boxes will have an overnumbered card, which is pretty good. That's 2 per case, theoretically. And then 1 in 10 of the overnumbered cards will have the signature. So 1 in 30 boxes will have a signature overnumbered card. And then the alt arts for like the champion cards, right, that have the skins, those should be about 2 per box. And then Blev, I know you did some math on this for people who are maybe interested in what the early days monetary value could look like for these kind of cards if you're looking to not buy boxes but buy singles.
Okay, so I will put the caveat that early days is probably not the case, because these numbers kind of assume a reasonable supply, which we do not know if that's going to happen. So everything, all bets are off, so to speak, if product is limited early on. But if we're just looking at the math and theoretical prices based on the price of a box if you buy it from the Riot pre-order, which we'll also talk about quickly because they did put pre-orders up officially on the Riot merch site, but it's 120 USD for a booster box of Riftbound, which means that if there's 2 alt arts per box, the maximum average price for the alt arts is going to be about $60, and I'll explain what that actually means once I go through it. If you follow through with that, $360 max average for an overnumber, and then $3,600 max average for a signature card, just based on buying at the box prices. So basically these numbers are what the average price of any one of them would be at a maximum, because if they were more than that, it would just, you'd infinite money glitch, right? So if you'd infinite money glitch and just keep buying them. Pastry and Charmer might remember the old Tarmogoyf game from buying Future Sight boxes back in the day, where it was just plus EV to open a box, because if you opened a Tarmogoyf, it would pay for the entire box, and then you would buy another box, get another Tarmogoyf, and you've just infinite money glitched. So that these numbers are not what the average price of each one of them will be. It's possibly not what the price of any one of them will be. There are a lot of other factors that go into it, supply, demand, etc. But that kind of gives you an idea, just based on the price of booster boxes, what the general sort of ballpark price for the average one of those cards will be, whether it's an alt art, an overnumber, or a signature. So if to put it in sort of Magic terms, honestly, there aren't we're getting into collector pack numbers for cards already, right? Like an alt art would be probably like a really strong staple card. But then once you start getting into overnumbers and signatures, you're getting into like not necessarily serialized, but like the serialized or really chase the chase alt arts and such in collector packs. So I was a little bit concerned. Again, I come from the whatnot side and opening packs for a living. I did for about 2 years. So I'm thinking about like, is it fun to open packs? Do people like doing that? Are people going to enjoy just opening the packs for opening them?
Probably.
And I think probably for this well, there's a big difference between opening collector packs and opening like play boosters in Magic, where it's like, oh, you can open the play boosters and there's some cool things you can get, but it's not that fun to do. Whereas collector packs are great, but they're also like $40 a pack. So like this Riftbound seems like we're going to have that interesting and fun thing to chase for if you want to open packs, but you're not spending $40 a pack like a collector.
It should be somewhat fun to open anyway because of just the way that the card rarities are. Because like the epics, and you're gonna get a certain amount of epics every time you open, not even just like chase cards, but they're like full art. So I feel like when you're opening packs and you're like getting these full art cards relatively frequently, it is like a little bit more exciting. Maybe not for the people who open thousands of packs.
You'll get fatigued.
But
you'll get fatigued very quickly. Like they start to lose their like it stops being cool just for the sake that it's a full art. Like you lose that after like when there's so many full arts. But and what it always boils down to is like people want to open the valuable and like playable cards, right? Like that's what it's always going to be. But yeah, I mean, any given pack can have a very expensive and sought after card in it, which is really
Speaking of people,
which is really awesome.
Wanting to open packs, though, I mean, the pre-orders went live, and then they were sold out immediately. And I mean, I know Charmer, you've been trying to get in. I don't know if this is the topic, but yeah, they just did not last at all.
So I don't know that this is the topic, but it kind of piggybacks. I was just kind of adding to Blev's napkin math a bit because he was trying to say like, what does this compare to? And I kind of had the revelation that for the signature cards, they're almost like serialized cards, but you just don't know what the actual number is. And my reasoning for that is that when you factor in the fact that it's, 1 in 3 boxes and then 1 in 10 of those, but that's just for any signature, right? And there are 12 legends in the game. Well, now you're looking at, if you on average we're just trying to get one specific legend, right? Thinking of the singles market, that's 360 boxes or 60 cases. So, how many of each individual legend signature is there going to be? Is it, less than 1,000, less than whatever? So even though there's not going to be a serialized number on it, it's going to be pretty similar, I think, overall when all is said and done in terms of how many are in the wild.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting product decision to just kind of be like, hey, let's do a bit of both. Let's have collectability, but also like you just open the booster and things are playable. Like these are also presumably going to be the sealed and loaded packs. So like they kind of fit everything. And I think there's pros and cons to doing so. But I think for a first set especially, it's a pretty smart decision to just kind of do it all in one, because I can't imagine if things don't go well that they, might divert from this exact product strategy in the future. But for Origins, for the first set, I think it makes a lot of sense. If you can get it.
Exactly. Which now you can't online through the merch shop.
Do not panic, people. Do not panic.
Yeah. Local game stores should still be getting their allocation.
Go find your LGS.
How
Make
much
friends.
they get will be a big question, but I'm not going to start doomsaying yet or worrying yet. That is more of a wait and see where the allocation is. I've heard stores that are asking for like 200 cases. I've heard stores that are just only asking for a few. I'm curious if those big stores are going to get their 200 cases or it'll be less. And I'm hoping that every local game store that wants to get some product is going to have some amount for you to be able to go and get.
So I've been talking to the local stores here in the UK, and initial vibe is that product isn't going to be an issue. I also like had to hand pick all of the not hand pick. I talked to every store in the area and was like, "Hey, do you know what Riftbound is? Also, this is what Riftbound is. If you need people to do demos, I am people." So like, I'm like, I want to have people to play with. So like, I will be the person that runs it at your store if you want.
If you're in Scotland, find Blevins.
Yes.
Riftbound Santa
Exactly.
Claus. Dropping
I'm
into
just
Scottish
imagining-
store
Yeah,
near you.
literally. I literally went to or reached out to every store that I found that has run a competitive Magic the Gathering event. So, which, for what it's worth, is not that many compared to like anywhere in the U.S., but it's not zero. And this is also another thing I completely forgot about. The store locator is also up on the Riot website, so you can actually search for stores that are carrying Riftbound product and running events on the store locator, which is cool. There was something else I was going to talk about with this, but I completely forgot about it. So
Nice.
While we're talking about collectability and card prices and such, as well as Gen Con, Cass, I know you mentioned you looked a little bit at the RE promos and what those may have been going for on,
Yes.
on various
Do not invest.
online sites.
Yeah, so immediately, and I know it was to the chagrin of the devs, and I feel for them, people were trying to scalp these, and it's why everything was sold out, and yet so many people were able to stand by and play, is people maybe not even interested in the game were trying to like sign up for 6 or 7 different learn to play sessions because they thought they could get more than one promo. Couldn't. It stamped your badge, you only get one. But they were going for $500 on eBay was the highest I saw. It's not the average. It did reduce from there, thankfully, because that's crazy. But I did see one at 500 for the promo and the 2 learn to play decks that will be at your LGS as far as I'm aware.
Yes, that's the
So,
point of the decks.
Crazy to spend money on it. I mean, the promo itself, sure, but like wanting those trial decks, I mean, absolutely insane. I did see them settling at like 300. I haven't looked in the past few days. Candidly, I hope they are down from that, but
Do not buy those.
that is crazy. Don't buy them at 300.
Don't buy them.
They'll be at PAX. They'll be at probably a couple other events throughout the year. There will be a ton of them in the wild. If you really want them, the price will go down. There's like no world that it's going to stay. I mean, I would be shocked if it stays that high. And yeah, scalping is bad. Don't do that. I mean,
Correct.
yes, you can get promos and sell them to help fund playing the game. That's fine. I do this all the time with like my Pro Tour promos and stuff when I go compete so that I can continue to play Flesh and Blood. I don't think that is a bad thing, but I think like trying to just get as many promos as you can and then jacking the price up to $500 is crazy and not a good thing and not a good look for the game that we are excited to play.
Yeah, I think everyone knew that this was going to happen because it happens with literally everything. But like I always see people that are like, "Oh, this is ruining the game. Like the prices are so high on this, it's crazy." And it's just like, yeah, but like it always reminds me of this sketch I saw, this online sketch I saw many years ago that was just called it was a movie trailer called Shark in the Pool. And it was like, you know, like a spoof of Jaws, and there's the shark in the pool and everyone's freaking out like, "Oh my God, there's a shark in the pool." And there's this guy like with a beer that's just like, "Don't go in the pool. Like, why are you guys in the pool?" And everyone's like, "Oh my God, it's killing everyone." Like jumping in the pool, getting torn to shreds by the shark. And the guy's just like, "Dude, just don't go in the pool. Like, don't buy the promo. It's not $500
It's not worth
to
that
you
much.
if you don't buy it. It's not that much."
Yep.
Like, it's one of those things where you just gotta kind of remove yourself from that situation.
I fully
you're
agree.
unaffected by it.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I think this is going to happen at all times. Don't knee-jerk reaction to things like that. Especially like you said, Cass, the proving, or not the proving grounds decks, the trial decks, like those are Those are not going to be collectible.
Free in your LGS. But that was a great segue, Blev, to talk about Proving Grounds, which is the next
That's
one.
true.
And I mean, Pastry, you and I, we had an episode where we talked about this, where we were so hopeful. And they came so close, Pastry. They really did. Yeah. But not everything is a 3 of.
A really great product. I think it would have been really cool to give people the opportunity to not only get all the cards for $1, but also do a little bit of deck building. I get when you're doing a entry-level beginner product, well, you don't want to do that and you want to fix deck lists and all that stuff. But if these cards are, if you need 3 copies of some of these cards, you may need to buy or split an extra copy of this product. Thankfully, the product doesn't seem particularly expensive. So like on balance, there's a lot of things that are still in its favor, but it is unfortunate. And I think it is interesting to me that like devs would make a decision to be like, you know what, we're going to design a product that is going to be great for onboarding people and it's not going to be like used in competitive, you know? And I think that is a noble like goal to try and shoot for, but you just can't stop people from cooking. I was like, they're always going to want it no matter what. Yeah. And I think that's like the maxim you have to live with at the end of the day.
Well, I'll even go a step further though, Pastry, which is even if they don't want to be competitive, even if you're only going to keep this to play kind of casually with your friends at home, if at some point you want to improve upon that experience, you should still be allowed to have enough copies of the stuff that is relegated to just that product that you can make those changes, right? So the fact that there's not play sets of the things that only come in Proving Grounds, I do think is a misstep. We were talking a little bit before recording. I am hopeful that whatever sort of like weekly play kits or prizes we get will include, whether it's, you know, those cards or maybe alternate art versions of those cards or whatever. Star Wars Unlimited does something where for their first few sets, they had stuff that was only in the starters. And then there were like the hyperspace versions that were in the weekly play stuff. I think that would be a nice compromise. However, I would be remiss if I didn't point out that you still got play sets of everything that was starter only in their product. And as somebody who's played a lot of card games, including Bandai ones, let me tell you, I hate having to buy multiples of any sort of starter thing, even if I just want to play that stuff casually, right? So I hold out hope that it's not as bad as it sounds, but this I do think was a misstep.
Yeah, and I mean, it was called out. If you've got a friend who also wants 3 copies of everything, you buy 3 instead of having to buy 4 total, and you can get there. But I will call out the cards that are not every card that is a 2 of, but just the main idea that they've done is all the champion cards for each deck and their signature are all at 2 of instead of 3 of, which usually that's fine in current deck building. Oftentimes you're not playing either of those things in 3 of, especially the champions. Sometimes they're just 1 ofs for your champion zone. However, you know, I look at someone like a Lux and I feel like maybe 3 Final Spark is something that you'd want to consider if you were playing a Lux deck. And the card that really gets me is Flash in Annie, which is only available in Proving Grounds and comes as a 2 of. Maybe that card is not supposed to be a 3 of in your decks, but I would kind of like to have the option if I acquired it through the Proving Grounds to be able to do so. I think the overall statement is just not putting 3 ofs of the exclusive cards is a mistake and something that I would hope that is remedied in the future with beginner products. I do know they're a little sad that players have made these Proving Ground decks a little too good, but that's like a quick sadness of like, shoot, we missed, I guess, a little bit. Not sadness that players are having fun and cooking with products that they made. So
I'm of 2 minds with it. I definitely agree with everything. I don't want to have to buy 2 copies of Proving Grounds, even though I already have. But the I think the biggest reason, besides me spending the extra money on the extra copy, is initially you don't want the like spike tournament players to buy all of the beginner product at a store. That is really bad for a store, because obviously the beginner product is best fit for new players and teaching the game. The other side of it, from the putting my store cap on, is that it is good, I think, overall for the products that are made that need to be sold in stores to be something that all players want in some way. Having something that is specifically just only for people learning the game, I think, has proven over time to not be very popular at all. And I personally feel is better suited as something more like the trial decks that are a free promotional product that is maybe only meant to be like a one-time or small number of time use, where you quickly grow out of that, and maybe it's something given to stores by as promotional material, rather than a full-blown product that is like, hey, this is how you learn the game. You spent $20 on it, and now you can throw that right in the trash and play with real cards, which is kind of what the Magic did 20-something years ago with the Portal sets, right? Where like those were starter products that ended up like you couldn't use them back in the day in real games, but also they were just like not good enough to actually play with. So
or whatever. Horsemanship is awesome.
Well, fortunately, the Proving Grounds heroes are good, and then Garen is also there, so it's a product that people will want.
Yeah, I do sincerely wish that they still would have given us, even if they didn't give you the 3 copies in the deck list, they also could have just included another thing that says like, leave these out when you're learning the game and then choose to mix and match later, right? Like they could have done something so that it doesn't feel like you're required to get more than one. Now, there is the other end of the spectrum as well, because this is not part of like a set or anything. As far as we know, they can print this thing into oblivion. So theoretically, there's not like a rush to get this kind of stuff, and it will eventually circulate throughout, the player base as more people try the game, whatever. But I think that when the impact will be felt the most will be when the game launches, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Of course.
I was gonna say, to me, it's so interesting because like I do think this is very close, and I think it's a great product. And where our gripes are like not minor necessarily, but like overall, I think this product is great, and I'm glad it exists. And it's like a really pretty small subset. I mean, we're all competitive players in some way, so we're kind of a smaller subset of people that are complaining about things that aren't gonna worry the newer players that are just learning the game and kind of having fun. And I think it's great. This actually makes me think like, what are precons going to look like? Because we know that is a thing that will exist, but we don't know anything about them yet. So I'm curious what that product looks like. Although the difference there being that those are cards that are in Origins, and these contain unique cards, which is always the minefield you're navigating.
Also a small note here. You can always buy singles too.
Yep.
That's always
Support your LGS, buy singles.
For your LGS. Also, this is not news that we planned for and is not super relevant to anyone on this call except for me, but Card Market is going to be officially supporting Riftbound, which is a cool thing for the community. I don't think that Card Market is in the US.
No.
Nope.
I've tried.
It's just
So it is, if you are like me and you have friends in Germany that will then ship things to you.
That's not the same.
Gotcha. So it's not.
So it's not in the US.
But it's the only thing in the UK. So I was super excited about that when they announced that like 2 days ago.
They have a great YouTube channel. I hope they make content for Riftbound, because that would be absolutely fuego.
I hope they have us on the channel to make content for
I hope they have us on the channel.
I hope they hire us to make
with
content.
People that are in the UK and can do it in person.
There you go. Card Market.
Card
Here, I'll play.
reach out to me. Yeah. Well, speaking of things that are happening in Riftbound,
Yeah,
we've got 3 tournaments. Got there. I got pack opening mine. Sorry. We've got not 1, not 2, but 3 tournaments coming up this week.
That's so sick.
Which is
That's so sick.
Thursday night we've got Thursday night fights. We've got the Rift Labs Trials number 1 and the Riftbound Meta Weekly number 4.
It might be 5. I don't know. I really don't know which number they're on. They've done it for a little bit now.
5?
I don't know. They've been going for a bit. They were doing these before all the cards were out, I'm pretty sure.
Sheesh.
Oh, okay. If you count the Max Tapera tournament as number 1, then this would be 5, I think, because it's Riftbound. It's
Riftbound was that in
meta weekly number?
Yeah,
I think that they like merged, like it kind of transitioned from.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's number 4 or 5.
It's a number.
The same type.
Is it time to complain about chaos yet, or is it not the time? Where do we want to go?
Shameless channel plug on this very channel that you're listening to this on. I recorded a new show called Battlefield Breakdown, where I talked about tournaments and cards and everything that happened. It's stats. There's stats in there.
Yeah.
I monologued the whole thing, and after we stopped recording, I'm like, I don't think I took a breath the entire time. Is what it felt like.
No audio editing required. There's no breaths to edit out.
Yeah.
There's no audio editing required. That was a wink for the podcast listeners. There definitely was a lot. But our producer is amazing. And
Correct.
On that show, I had a hot take that purple is the top 3 domain. Don't
Sheesh.
Quickly, if you're listening to this, these tournaments have happened already. We're recording right before all these tournaments happen. This will release probably after they all conclude, so we can kind of give it's more predictive.
You've probably
takes
already listened to the second episode of
Battlefield Breakdown potentially. Yeah, hopefully you have. But what I want to say is I liked Blev's take about chaos. Well, he said his top 3. I don't know if I agree with top 3 colors, but what I did agree with him in that video was just that chaos is very underrepresented. I think underexplored.
Yeah.
And I wanted Pastry. I just want you to be able to have your chaos rant if you want, because I know you like to play decks that have purple in it. I like them too, but I have probably explored a little bit less on chaos than you have outside of just doing like thought seizing my opponent like 45 times. And that's, not all that chaos does.
See, this is interesting because I am like the single worst deck builder in the history of card games. I'm pretty sure. Like when I was on teams, my job was to like playtest and tune decks. I was the person who was like, oh, we should play this card. This makes sense. I'm really, really bad at building decks. So I'm actually super excited that there's all these tournaments happening, and you should go watch these things if you're interested, because the way I enjoy learning about competitive anything is by consuming as much material as possible. So the more footage I have, the more tape I have to watch, the happier I get as a person, and I eventually osmose all the information because I'm not smart enough to figure it out myself. So I am so excited to watch a bunch of tape and just start figuring stuff out. But I will say, I think as the resident purple player, I guess at this point, the thing I have noticed, especially compared to like watching the metagames ebb and flow on this show, all of the Grizzly Bears, all the 2-drops in purple seem like significantly worse than all the other domains. It's like Traveling Merchant at S+ tier, and then it's like Vision Poro, and you're happy, and you're not happy because it's Vision Poro, even though Vision Poro is kind of based. Like it's just you don't like. I think my theory is that they designed it so that they recognize mobility and moving is really powerful, so they gave them less good units. But like that's a very different way to play a game, and you often start playing games from behind, especially playing Yasuo, and you often win them by doing something really silly in the mid game, and you get a lot of play out of your cards. But it feels really bad to not have good 2-drops, and you're just kind of hanging out with your Clockman and your discipline and hoping that you don't get blown out in the first conquer. Otherwise, it's very, very hard to win.
Yeah, I will piggyback as somebody who's played more purple than in probably any of the other colors at this point, because I love jamming Timo. I think that
Timo Master 420 reporting in.
Yeah, exactly. The other reason that I think that purple by itself struggles with 2-drops, and I mean that's kind of the beauty of the game, is you do get another color and you can pair with things. So at least Timo gets access to Ravenbloom, for example. But the big thing is the Yasuo pairing, as you said, movement's really powerful, right? You know what else is really powerful? Playing hidden stuff for basically free. And so if you can start strong and do that on top of it, it feels a little bit much, right? So I think that a lot of the purple cards right now that are strong actually cost 4 or 5, and that the early stuff is just to make up for the fact that in this Origin set, you're still capable of some hot starts. Again, like no spoilers, but one of the games that we got footage of, like I come out blazing on Teemo. It's kind of insane.
One of the big things that we see right now with the meta, it's really funny to like call it a meta because it changes like every week, but it's like a lot of Kai'Sa, a lot of Victor, and then a lot of like other stuff that has to go really fast or flood because they have to be able to manage Kai'Sa or Victor a lot of the time, or they had to beat Dazzling Aurora, which has kind of fallen out as well. And then you also have to have like an answer to Master Yi. And because of all this, there's like a ton of this early removal, a lot of people who are trying to get onto both locations as early as like the first or second turn of the game, or like second turn of the game, you're getting on both locations. And so when you're a deck that has an early game issue and everybody is playing a bunch of stuff that is just like get on both battlefields immediately, it tends to be a little bit hard. So not having good access to those early drops, you're forced to play a bunch of them to just try and get on board. And then from there, it's like, how do you convert to your late game? And I think people haven't figured it out with purple yet. The best performing purple deck is this Annie aggro deck because it has removal and it gets the 2 runes back every turn to use that removal. So it can play the like direct to battlefield units, get the early scores, and then use the extra resources for removal, or to like, what is it? Ride the wind is what it's called, to like
Ride
score
the
on
wind.
your opponent's turn
like the
to
best card
actually
in
score
the game.
even faster. So it's actually why Annie is very impressive. This was, I mean, Pacer, you and I even called out that ability was going to be pretty impressive. So it's cool that it is, but I feel like some of these other non-proving grounds purple decks have a little bit more game than we've seen. I think Teemo is certainly one of them. I think Yasuo, it feels like it's super underplayed. It's like how Leona is underplayed. I think these purple decks are very underplayed, and therefore we're not seeing a lot of people figure them out just yet. There's Blevins showing the Jinx. Jinx, also a deck that I think is a lot stronger than is getting the credit for, and maybe just needs a little more exploration. All the Jinx decks look nearly identical. It doesn't feel like people are branching out and trying some different things.
I don't disagree at all. I also think that while I thought he was more of a sideboard inclusion on first glance, at least right now, the way the meta is shaping up, I think Kog'Maw is really underexplored as well. Because if you don't have the early game for purple, then you just clear out their early game and then go from there.
Cod's really good.
Yeah. The last thing I'll say, we're going to talk about well, if you want to listen to the tournaments, if you want to hear about the tournaments, we can listen to Battlefield Breakdown. But one thing that we didn't mention, Cass, is that the Rift Labs trials we're going to be part of the casting team of. That's
Buggers.
Yeah, so
that's a cool thing.
I'll be casting rounds 1 through 3 with Marshall from Riftbound Report, and then Blevins has taken the final with Anu. Who's new friend of the channel that we met at Gen Con. Blevins didn't meet him at Gen Con, but I did, and so did Trevor.
I didn't realize that you did until we started recording. So that was kind of cool. I've been talking with him on Discord about I opened with I'm a paper boomer, and then started talking about 15-year-old pod matchups in Modern. So that was great. The last thing I'll say about purple and about these sort of off kilter decks, the what I'm going to call the we're not just playing dudes decks, is that they are really interesting and powerful answers to a question that we don't know yet. We don't know what question they need to answer, so we don't know what we actually need to do to, like you said, stabilize in the mid and late game as purple. So there's a lot of cards and a lot of power, but it's more specifically targeted to things that we need to figure out as a community and as deck builders moving forward. So it reminds me a lot of original like beta Hearthstone, where the best cards were a vanilla 4/5 for 4 and a 6 mana 4/2, or no, was it 4/3 or 4? 6 mana 4/3 Divine Shield charge, which is basically haste. Like, those are the best cards in the entire game besides.
It's why people are playing Yi. It's just good math.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just good math.
It's just keyword big. Is a good keyword.
Keyword big. We have Mighty for that, but it's not even. It's not even what you mean. But I get it.
No, it's not. It's just keyword stats. But let's move on here to one of my favorite segments of the show. It is going to be
It's my favorite segment.
Mailbag. Yeah, okay. I didn't want to blanket call it our favorite.
No, it
but,
is. Let's be real.
I'm voting for it. We have got Potts David G says, I don't know about anyone else, but in my friend group that has been playing around with those tournament decks, we have found that Spirit's Refuge does a good job dealing with all the targeted removal for units, since they have to recycle an additional time at making Kaisa's ability useless, not to mention spells like Falling Star are forced to recycle 4 runes just to kill a single 6 might unit. Cass, I know you talked about this in the comments of the YouTube channel, which you should also, if you're listening to this, leave a comment on this video to possibly be in our next mailbag. Cass, what do you think?
So Spirit's Refuge is a gear in Calm. It costs 2 energy, 1 power. You buff a unit, and then all your units that have buffs gain Deflect, which makes your opponent recycle a rune or pay a power whenever they try and target that unit that has Deflect. And since Kaisa is like the main boogie woman of the meta right now, this card to me made a lot of sense. I started trying to brew some Lee Sin decks that were using it because all of your units will have buffs and therefore all of your units will have Deflect. It's pretty annoying. Kaisa basically has infinite cards and infinite resources because of her ability and because most of her cards cantrip. So having a way to make it so she doesn't have the energy to keep using all of these cards and cantripping into more cards is a really good way to answer it. So I think green decks should be looking at Spirit's Refuge as a way to kind of counteract her, especially if they can play buffs. I even saw someone talking about Master Yi playing Spirit's Refuge because it does do a buff itself. So you buff one of your own units that you've put onto the base, but there's not as many buffing options with Master Yi, so it's probably not as good there as somewhere like Elise Sin. However, I think this is a great idea, and I think people should try Spirit's Refuge more in their green decks if Kaisa continues to be the prevailing force.
Yeah, I think my biggest issue with Deflect is that if you're coming from Magic, the kind of parallel is to Ward, which is basically ward with a cost. You need to pay a cost to when you target that unit, or else the spell is countered. The difference here is that for the most part, you can always pay that initial deflect cost, right? Unless you are really, really at a rune deficit, which I don't think is super possible. It's at least not super plausible in Origins. So if you absolutely need to deal with the unit on this turn, you're going to be able to, for the most part, regardless of whether it has deflect or not. The follow-up and where Spirit's Refuge gets useful is if you are able to punish that, then it starts to become useful. You need to be able to take that future benefit and really take advantage of that, or else it's just like, oh, they dealt with your unit. Okay, great. What are you going to do about that? Because it's not like deflect is going to keep your unit alive. It's still going to die this turn. It's just they're going to be at a deficit in the following turns. Are you able to take advantage of that? If yes, then I like it. So
yeah, to me, the interesting thing about this is it actually plays into the conversation we were having about Chaos earlier, where it's like we actually just don't understand how tempo works in this game because it's different to like every other game. And deflect forces your opponent to trade time, like basically trading resources for time. Well, it's a little more complicated than that, but like basically, like you're forcing your opponent to take a resource hit in the short term in order to deal with something, and that like doesn't feel very annoying because you can kind of always do it. But when people actually start like understanding that like, oh, taking a turn off here and not playing a 2-drop is fine because my like 4 or 5, depending on when I started the game, is going to be significantly stronger, and like understanding how mid games and end games actually work in Riftbound, which we don't understand yet. Like when all these things start coalescing, things like what is the value of deflect will be much more obvious, where now we just don't know. So I think this is a good highlight because it highlights a thing that not only is a cool option for people, especially given that Kaisa's prevalence in the meta, but like also just a point of theory about Riftbound that we haven't answered yet, and we will eventually, maybe even soon, but not something we really think about much.
Yeah, my brain just went to Flesh and Blood tempo. It took me a while to get like a hold of that, but it's like, oh, I can take this turn off, and then if they attack badly and I block well, I'm super far ahead, and now I can't lose. But it's not super obvious coming from other games. Interesting. Let's move on to our next mailbag here. This is from Garrison Breton 1516. Very last discussion, talking about entering units, starting a chain. This is, of course, from previous episode. Is this a change from the updated rules? Was under the impression that only enter the board effects start a chain. And Cass, you got
this. Is my fault. I'm bad at reading because I read the exact section of the rules to then say exactly the wrong thing because I read it badly. Basically, the whole thing says that like any card entering would create a chain, except for you're supposed to skip this part if it was a unit that didn't have an ETB effect. So basically, it does have to be a unit with an ETB effect to start the chain. So you can kind of prevent your opponent from interacting by only playing units without ETB effects or not starting any showdowns if you wanted to. But yeah, I talked to these people in the comments as well to clarify, to make sure that we weren't spreading too much false information. But if you only listened and didn't read any comments last week, I'm wrong and I don't know how to read. There we go.
Yep. This is funny because this actually came up internally like 2 days ago. Someone basically asked a question about timing. There's like a little Ask Riftbound channel where people end up asking a lot of rules questions, as you can probably imagine. And I think this is the thing that Magic players will struggle most with, is like, when do you get actual windows to cast your spells? Because there's no phases. There's no steps. It's just one turn. And you don't get an end step to cast spells in. And everyone's going to get got. And how the priority windows work are very, very different. And so you'll learn them quickly, but every Magic player is going to mess it up at least once when they start learning Riftbound. And you'll just have to adjust to the fact that the game's different.
So I just played Dazzling Aurora, and then there's a pseudo end step.
There you go.
Yep.
Turn.
Helping everyone out.
But there's also only 2 more turns left in the game after that. Anyways, we've got our last mailbag question here from Jacob Franklin 5091, who says, how do you guys feel about decks focusing on one color aspect versus splitting down the middle on both? I've been testing mono yellow Victor and yellow blue Victor to see which one I like more, leaning mono yellow, by the way, but I also see this with champions like Jinx and Kaisa. So curious what you guys think. Keep being awesome. No, you keep being awesome. Fantastic question. Who wants to start this one? Because this is a great question.
I mean, I guess I can start. I know that
it's awkward pause, meaning Charmer has to take it.
I guess I'll do it. I know that when we were at Gen Con, they had a number of different decks that were available when we were making content. And one of the ones was actually a deck that was pretty much focused down the middle, even though it was a split color deck. So all of the runes were one color. And then the other color, I believe it was one of the Jinx decks, if I remember right. So it was like all Angie runes. And then the only chaos stuff that it was running were things that did not require the chaos power to be played, right? I think that that's going to be something we see as a potential strategy in a lot of decks. I think that, just kind of thinking out loud, for example, there very well could be a build of Teemo that's pretty similar to that, because many of the cards that do require power in the mind section, for example, are also hidden. So if you just want to forego like the 3-cost Ari, for example, you could probably get away with a version of Teemo that is essentially monocolored, just because, again, when you play them as hidden, you can just use whatever rune you want. So
I have a take, but I feel I might be unhinged, so I want Cass to go for.
Okay, I'll go first. I really like listening to you guys during these, because often I go into the comments and I reply to these questions. And so I've already answered this there, but I'll answer it for the pod as well. I think that monocolor, if that feels like the best thing to do for the deck, is fine. I don't think there's any reason to not do monocolor, but I also think that there's the rune system doesn't punish you that hard for having power costs from both sides, especially if you can play a 6-6 or a 7-5 split. I think you will very rarely get rune screwed for what you want to do, as long as you are recycling responsibly. So I don't think there's a real reason to play monocolor over playing split, unless you believe that those monocolor cards are actually just the best cards to be playing. If those are the best cards to be playing, then yeah, play the monocolor. But if you think some of these like other colored cards are part of what would make I'm just playing all of the best cards for my deck, then you should not like stray away from playing multicolor, because I really don't think the runes are going to give you that big of an issue.
Yeah, that was pretty much what I was going to say. I have a little bit more to add, but basically, like, don't be scared. You're not going to get color screwed. Like, relax. The rune system is very generous. Like, you're thinking about it too much. Don't, like, just chill out. It's not like other games where you've been traumatized by missing land drops. Like, it's not going to happen. It's chill. The things I will say to consider in this kind of thing, though, are like, one, just count your power pips like a responsible person. Like, that is what color pays for. So like count the things that care about color, and it's easier to figure out what your split should be. The other is like, if seals are a part of your deck, especially if they're important, that's when you actually have to think a little bit more. But again, to Cass's point, I think being responsible and thoughtful about when you're recycling or what you're recycling is going to serve you well most of the time. But I think it's probably more true often than not that newer players will worry about this more than they need to. This is like kind of on the bell curve, I think, where it's like you start, you're like, I don't know, okay, I'll just play 6/6. And then the middle is like, I don't know, like I have to optimize maybe monocolor. And then the high level players are like, yeah, whatever, just play 6/6 split. It's probably fine. Like it mostly doesn't matter, I think.
Yeah. I don't have any strong opinions on current deck builds and the distribution of runes right now. What I will say, and I think I put this in the comments, but I don't remember if I thought about putting it in the comments or if I actually did. So I'll just say it anyway. It is a really cool thing that it is even a thought and like a possibility. It is something that right now I think we are all in agreement that it's like, you know, you're going to be fine kind of no matter what you do at this point because it's origin set. However, that may not be the case in future sets. We may see sets that really lean heavily into rewarding you for being a single color or rewarding you for being a complete split. Like we may see more aggressive power costs in the future. That is a dial that the devs can turn for power in game design. That is really an interesting one. And again, like you said, Pastry, we kind of just don't understand it at this point. And I'll end it like I've said it before. None of this discussion matters until Frank Karsten crunches the numbers and puts out the article on how to build Riftbound decks, which I don't even know if he's looking at Riftbound, but
I hope so.
I can't wait for Blevins to do the article on how many runes you should run in the deck.
Yeah, Battlefield Blev, let's
Battlefield
go.
breakdown. Find out how many runes you should put in your deck. I don't know, maybe in the future, but at least go watch the Battlefield breakdown that's out now. There might be 2 episodes out now when you're watching this.
There should be 2 unless something
or at least
goes wrong,
one, and then another one will be coming out in like a day. But yeah, that's I think that's it for us today. So let's get some final thoughts from anybody. Blev, what you got? No? No, nothing
Not from me.
Yeah.
Not from me.
Oh,
No.
I'm out. And for that reason, I'm out.
I've just got check with your local stores for pre-orders because they are certainly looking to have players in the stores and buying stuff. So do that.
I have that I'm filled with deep regret that I did not get to hold Cass's hand at Gen Con.
Okay. All right. Well, you can hold our virtual hand by subscribing, leaving a like and a comment down below. And we'll be back next week with another episode of The Winning Point. Thanks for watching.